Welcome to the Law School Strategy Podcast, your weekly home for tips, advice, exclusive interviews, and other insights into landing that coveted legal job by graduation. We're here to help every law student develop their law school strategy. Don't go through law school blind. It's time to get out of the classroom, put your books down, and finish that outline later. Now, here's your host, Franklin Graves.
Hi, thanks for joining me for another episode of Law School Strategy. For those of you that haven't graduated yet, it's likely the start of your summer. That means you hopefully found an internship or some other way to fill your time. Don't worry if you haven't landed a legal internship. I'll go ahead and tease a video I'm working on releasing in a few days on my YouTube channel, where I will share some tips and ideas for opportunities to take advantage of despite not having landed a summer externship, internship, or a similar resume building opportunity. So make sure you hit that subscribe button on YouTube to not miss out some great content I have planned. Oh, you should also hit tap or click that little bell icon because that will send you a notification of any updates. Are you enjoying the Law School Strategy series? Do me a favor and share it with your friends or colleagues on social media. If you just tell one person about it, I would be really grateful. Plus, you'll help out that person to learn some awesome insights into taking their legal career to the next level. On today's episode, I have another excellent interview with an in-house fashion law attorney in California. She's a fellow young lawyer like me and current Internet Law and Policy Foundry fellow. But first, I want to dive into some tips for law school. If you know me, I'm a huge fan of Reddit. Yes, there are trolls and other haters that are staples of the internet that are all over Reddit, but I find the communities can be awesome and encouraging. On this episode, I'm going to answer a question someone posted on the Law School Admissions subreddit. I tend to go there and the law school subreddit to be a part of a very active law school and legal professionals community. There was a recent post by a 0L starting law school in the fall. The title of the post is, "What supplies should I buy?" And they're basically asking for some advice on items that are essential to stock up on before law school. I'm going to also go ahead and showcase another similar post over on the law school subreddit where someone is asking about gift ideas for a boyfriend that is starting law school. There were some great suggestions in the comments, so I've compiled some of them and added or expanded with my own. So what supplies or items are essential to have before starting law school? Maybe you need help compiling a list of gift ideas for family and friends to provide you. Let's start with some basics. Every law student must have a decent stash of the following office supplies. Pens are a must. You need to go and find out, if you haven't already, your favorite kind of pen, and that is what you should get a lot of. I love the pens that have a really flowing nature to the ink as they come out. I can't stand, I think they're called roller balls or other ones like that just kind of get stuck every now and then. I love a pen that will honestly bleed over and I can't have multiple pages stacked on top of each other. So find out what pen works for you and get a lot of them. 100 would easily be enough. Highlighters. You also need highlighters. Make sure that they're smudge-free. Most of them are now these days, but don't just go with the free ones that you'll get from a bar prep program or legal research platform. Get real highlighters, Sharpie brand or whatever, that are great and don't smudge, and get multiple colors. I had pink, yellow, the regular highlighter everybody thinks of, and I think blue and green as well. Some of the darker colors don't really work. You'll want tabs and a Sharpie pen to write on them. Tabs are useful, so if you have a legal code book or just your law school textbook, you'll want to put tabs and kind of mark certain areas of the book that you can easily quickly reference. For copyright law, for instance, I took the 17 USC code and showed where the DMCA was and other common provisions like that. So you'll want to do that as well. Flashcards. I did digital flashcards. First of all, they were easier and faster to create, and I didn't like my handwriting, and I didn't want to go and print off flashcards either. So save paper if you want to, and just get an app or online program that will help you do that. But flashcards, if you're a flashcard person, are very helpful to have. So make sure you have a fresh supply of those. Computer paper is often overlooked, but you'll need to print stuff if you're not using the on-campus library to print. It can sometimes be expensive, or maybe your law school has it for free. Whatever. Try to get computer paper if you need it. resume paper and a heavy stock resume paper is always good to have. This is mostly if you have an at-home printer, but for me, for instance, I didn't bother keeping up with a home printer after the second or third year. And so I just would go to Kink or FedEx office and just print off on their nice stock paper. It's a little more expensive, but compared to buying paper up front and printing and ink and all that, it can sometimes be an easier option to just go to a print shop. Oh, a print shop, your on-campus print shop, you might have one. So check out that too. They are sometimes a lot cheaper. Now, those are the basics, office supplies that I think every law student should have without a doubt. So what else should a law student have in preparing for law school? At the very least, one suit. But I recommend at least 2 or 3 of a variety of colors. So you'll want a black one, a gray one, and a navy or blue color one, or just some other, whatever your style is. Just make sure you have a good set of suits. And that's for males and females. Find out what your style is. Go to, I know a lot of, if you go to the mall, a lot of those shops, suits, warehouses, they have typically run like buy one, get one deals or buy one suit, get 2 free. Take advantage of those types of opportunities. If you're also in a wedding, that was one way I got a really nice suit. If you are in a wedding, try to convince the groom or whatever to say that you want to go with a suit buying, because oftentimes it's the same price as renting a tuxedo. Anyways. In addition to a suit, another recommendation I have is a messenger bag or a shoulder bag. It can be a large purse-style shoulder bag, just something that you can easily throw your laptop in, keep some of your books and pens and supplies. It's better, I think, to have a messenger bag or something similar to that rather than a backpack, because it just looks a little more professional. Headphones, they can be noise canceling or not, just find headphones. They can be the ones that come with your iPhone or your Android phone. Headphones are essential because you're going to want to be listening to music or the classical radio station on Pandora or the studying station or playlist on Spotify or Apple Music. So make sure you have a good set of headphones that are comfortable and that can allow you to really focus when you're in an environment like the public library or your law school library studying. An extra laptop charger is always essential. I actually keep one laptop charger here at my office desk, and then I have another one that's portable with me that can go wherever I go. So if I'm working at Starbucks or working at another coffee shop or on campus somewhere, I have one that is always in my messenger bag. So gift cards are a great gift idea. So if you ever are around a holiday or your birthday and you're going to be getting gifts, recommend friends and family get you a Starbucks, fast food, pizza delivery, or even on campus coffee shop might have gift cards. Look into that. That's always a good opportunity to not have to spend your own money and kind of get out and get some coffee to stay awake. Laptop stand or book stand for a desk is also good. It will help not strain your neck, and it can sometimes help you read and kind of feel refreshed and not just looking down all the time. If you know someone is going to splurge on a gift for you, I have some higher priced items to recommend, and maybe headphones and gift cards would fall into this category. But I recommend a Keurig or some other instant coffee maker with the accompanying K-cups of some kind. It's always helpful to have a quick access to hot chocolate or coffee or whatever your favorite K-cup style beverage is. It's just easier, and you don't have to deal with a coffee pot, all that kind of stuff. So if you're in the mood to splurge and have something like that, I recommend a Keurig. And also, if you have a Keurig at home, a lot of law schools now have student common centers or somewhere where the SBA has set up a Keurig in the library or something like that. So your K-cups, you can also just get a stash of them and have them for when you're on campus and keep them in your locker or some other storage area that your school provides. Massage gift card or membership. I know some people have memberships to massage places, so that's always a benefit. So if you have a family member, a grandparent, or somebody like that wants to splurge on you, get that massage membership. A desktop monitor for a laptop. If you have a home office or a desk that you're working at in your apartment or home, then it's recommended. I would love the external monitor I have. And they're super cheap. I mean, you could even get one of these yourself, but sometimes it's helpful to have somebody else buy it for you. But a second monitor that you can use to have your legal research on one screen and your paper on the other, it really is helpful. So I recommend getting an extra monitor. A printer. There is an on-campus printing, as I mentioned before, but it also helps to have one at home. So in addition to the printer, you might want to think about the ink cartridges, making sure you have a supply of those. Microsoft Office subscription is another opportunity for somebody to give you a gift. Now Microsoft has a subscription-based model where you can get access from a student edition, I'm sure, for your local bookstore somewhere might have a student discount that you can get through university pricing. But get a subscription, get somebody to buy it for you. That way you have Office, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, all that kind of stuff all throughout law school. You don't have to worry about it. And OneNote is another excellent tool that comes with that for note taking, in addition to other services like Evernote and that kind of thing. A music service subscription. As I mentioned earlier, headphones are very helpful if you have music to listen to and you don't want to be interrupted or distracted by ads for Jimmy John's or something like that. So go ahead and get somebody to buy you or jump on somebody else's family plan with a music subscription service. You have Spotify, Apple Music, and even a cheaper option is Pandora. Just go ad-free. So those are just some ideas and gift options for you to consider. An always fun gift idea is if someone wants to grab you a law school t-shirt, sweater, or jacket from the campus bookstore. If you're an incoming student or even a current student, you can likely stop by your admissions office or career services office, and they'll have plenty of tumblers, coffee mugs, or maybe even a t-shirt you can have for free. Plus, I'm a big fan of most career service offices, so it doesn't hurt to stop by and say hello to them anyways. Have I missed anything? Maybe you have an idea of something that you think is an essential law school tool or supply. Shoot me an email, tweet at me, or comment down below if you're watching on YouTube if you have any recommendations for any essential law school supplies. Okay, next up, I'm super excited to talk with my guest attorney for today's segment of how I graduated from law school with a job. Let's kick it over to that interview. This time on How I Graduated from Law School with a Job, I'm excited to welcome Natalie Nicol from Orange County, California. Hey, Natalie.
Hi, Franklin. Thanks for having me.
Yes, I'm so excited that you're here. I'm really wanting to hear your story, and I know a lot of law students can really benefit from it. So let's start at the very beginning of what did you do or study before law school?
I went to Arizona State University, and I was a journalism major. And everyone at ASU's Cronkite School had told me to put off mass media law until my very last semester. It had a reputation for being this really difficult class. And so I followed my classmates' advice and put it off until my final semester. And it ended up being my absolute favorite class. And it's what ultimately inspired me to become an attorney. It sparked my interest in issues related to the internet and new technology. And it was a really exciting time in that field, I felt, in 2008. And my professor, his name was Mark Scarp, really is the person who sparked my interest in these issues and inspired me to go to law school. So when I was applying to law schools, I limited my search to the Bay Area. I knew that I wanted to be surrounded by people who were thinking about technology and the internet in a really exciting way. And I ultimately went to Hastings, which was in the heart of Silicon Valley, and it was a great decision for me.
Excellent. So one of the questions that I know a lot of people have is whether your undergraduate degree really matters when you go to law school. So can you talk a little bit about how a journalism degree either helped or benefited you, or maybe what you could have learned more before law school?
I do think that the advice about, having a different, background and being able to go to law school with any type of degree is generally true. I was glad that I had a journalism and communications background because so much of law school and so much of legal practice, for me at least, has been writing. And I think learning to write in a clear and concise manner ultimately served me very well as a law student. And I think having a writing background, benefited me tremendously when it came to legal research and writing courses and becoming a research assistant and working on a journal. I think that my background was really helpful.
Great. Yeah, I actually have a very similar background in journalism, mass communication. So it's interesting to hear the same thing. I definitely felt the legal research side of things were easy because I learned how to research and write. But one of the things that I struggled with was I was on the broadcast side of journalism. And so I was having to adjust my writing and be more legalistic and legalese for the legal writing courses that everybody takes as a 1L. But excellent advice. I really think that a lot of people can learn a lot from doing a journalism degree, especially a great mass media law class like it sounds like you had. So perfect. Yeah, go ahead.
In between undergrad and law school, I wish that I would have gotten some more professional experience in between my undergraduate degree and going to law school. But unfortunately, the reality of graduating from college in 2008 was pretty bleak. And so I, like a lot of students, didn't really have, a lot of traction coming out of undergrad in a tough economy. So now I would encourage students to get some professional experience and get a couple of years of working, in an early career position before you go to law school. But for me and many of my classmates, that wasn't really a reality.
Yes, that's so true. And I think it's important also to note that that might not exactly help you with your first year courses, because the practical aspects of your first year courses are not really they're not that practical when you're in law school that first year. It's all about, like we talked about earlier, the law school game. So can you talk a little bit more about the practical experience that you're able to gain outside of the classroom? And you've had some amazing internships from what I've seen. So can you give some insight into, first of all, what internships you had during law school and how you got those internship opportunities?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be happy to talk about that. So I had my eye on working for the Electronic Frontier Foundation from well before the time that I went to law school. So I had done my research and I knew that they were based in San Francisco. I was really excited about the work that they do. And just, by way of background, EFF is one of the leading digital civil liberties organizations, and they work on some of the most cutting edge privacy, intellectual property, and free expression issues. And I knew I wanted to work for them. And so I kind of did some background research on what other organizations some of their attorneys had worked for. And I learned about another organization in the Bay Area called the First Amendment Project. And so that was actually my first summer position was at the First Amendment Project. And they have both partnered with EFF on a couple of issues, and some of their attorneys have gone on to work for the EFF. So that first year summer position put me in a really great position to work for the EFF. And then by virtue of my internship at EFF, I applied to the Berkman Center. It's now called the Berkman Klein Center. It's at Harvard University. It's a research center that focuses exclusively on internet law issues. And I got an internship there my second summer. It was a dream come true.
Great. And so what were these postings that were on your law school website, your careers website? Or it sounds like you kind of did some research maybe and found them yourself. And if you found them yourself, how did you reach out and how did you make that connection?
Oh my gosh, it feels like it was so long ago. I hardly remember how I got connected to the First Amendment Project, but I might have reached out to them and just asked. I don't remember if I saw it on my school's job board. And then once I was connected to the people at First Amendment Project, a lot of the ways that I ultimately got these jobs, it was just being introduced, by the attorneys that I was working with. They would make introductions and make connections for me, and it was just invaluable to me in my career. So that was really, the way that I found out about these opportunities. I think, I remember reading about the Berkman Center call for internship applications on Twitter, which has been another really useful tool for me in my career. And, getting that internship, and getting to spend a summer living and working at Harvard, it was an absolute dream come true.
Absolutely, I'm sure. It sounds like really exciting and interesting work, to say the least, especially now. I know net neutrality is back in the news, back on people's radar. So perfect. Well, can you describe, I know some law students might be intimidated either because they don't have the grades or they might not have the connections. What would you recommend if you were in their shoes right now and you had to try to apply and make yourself distinguished when you're looking at internship opportunities, maybe like you've had?
So as an initial step, I was very fortunate to be able to be geographically located in the right place to have these internships. And I now know not everyone is so fortunate to get into a law school in a major city. And so I think one way that you can demonstrate your interest and your knowledge of these types of issues is by maintaining an active either Twitter feed or blog where you're writing about these issues. And it doesn't need to be substantive, in-depth writing every single time. I think that being able to point to the fact that you're staying on top of these types of issues and that you have a working familiarity with them is a great tool. And I would strongly encourage students to reach out to alumni of these organizations. I get questions all the time and I always respond. When people reach out to me on LinkedIn, I'm always happy to spend 30 minutes on the phone with them to give them advice and to introduce them to other organizations. And I have a boilerplate email that I will send any student who's interested in internet law and policy of all of the organizations. It's not just the EFF, it's not just the ACLU. There are tons of organizations who are doing this type of work, and I think it's just getting your foot in the door somewhere and making, you know, a great impression once you're there and making connections with the attorneys that you're working with. It's all about your network.
So now I want to ask you the question that everybody wants to know. Did you graduate from law school with a job? And if so, how did you do it?
I did not graduate from law school with a job. I graduated in 2013, which was a really challenging job market. And I ultimately decided to move back home to Colorado to live with my parents so that I could figure out what was next. And as a strategic move, I took on any long distance research opportunities that I could. So one of the things that I did was work with a group based out of Washington, D.C. called the Internet Freedom Business Alliance. At the time, it was 2014, they were working on the net neutrality rulemaking, and I helped them with some advocacy and research, and they gave me an opportunity to publish a blog post over at Free Press. And so that was a great opportunity that I was able to do long distance and remotely. And I also worked with one of my favorite professors and a person who's been instrumental in my career success. His name is Lothar Dieterman. He was my data privacy law professor at Hastings, and when I graduated, he was in the early stages of writing a practical guide to California privacy law, and he took me on as a research assistant, and it was a pretty substantial research project. You know, I helped him research and draft a couple of chapters of his book. I helped him with site checking, and it was almost a crash course, more than a crash course on California privacy law, and you know, learning that stuff has been great for my career. And Lothar ultimately recommended me for both of my first full-time positions as an attorney. My first was a privacy counsel position at a crowdfunding startup called Tilt. They were recently acquired by Airbnb. And Lothar also recommended me for my current position at Dita Eyewear, which is a luxury eyewear group based in Orange County.
Excellent. So it sounds like it was great reliance on the connections that you built up and made during law school. So for law students that might be in your same situation, what's the best way that you found to reach out to people? Did you just have like a standard email that you sent, or did you do like the typical like coffee meetings or other ways to network and ask for these types of research and writing opportunities?
I always feel like making a connection to people in person is the best way to start any relationship. And so I spent a lot of my free time in law school going to events that were hosted by the EFF or that I knew these attorneys would be at. I think the way that I first met their attorneys was at the EFF's annual Pioneer Awards. And it's a fundraiser and awards dinner that they do to recognize achievements by people who are working on internet privacy issues. And so I bought a ticket, I showed up, I met their attorneys, and these are people who I still am close friends with to this day. So this was 6 or 7 years ago. And so, I always try to show up in person to events. Many conferences and panels and events that are thrown by bar associations are willing to offer a student discount. If you see a conference in your area, offer to volunteer. Offer to work the registration desk, so that you'll be in a position to meet these attorneys, make these connections in person. And if you're unable in person, I would encourage you to write a polite and thoughtful email, with the hopes that you'll be able to make a connection. And if you're not in the same geographic area, see if they'll spend, a short time on the phone with you to give you some career advice, and just do anything you can to try to, respectfully make connections in your field.
Excellent. Yeah. And I think one thing law students need to make sure they do is set aside some budget set aside some money in their budget to pay for bar association dues, or as you said, tickets to networking events like that or award events, because that's really going to be the opportunity to meet people and build those strong connections, because in person is so much easier and stronger than just a email, especially if they're not expecting it just out of the blue.
I worked more conferences than I can count. I remember working the Legal Frontiers in Digital Media conference at Stanford, and I volunteered with symposia and always showed up to that kind of thing. And spending that time paid off for me so much more than it would have had I spent that time outlining or reviewing evidence flashcards. I mean, it was just so much more important to get myself out there and make those connections than it was to bump up my GPA by another 0.25 points. It was
that's a good distinction you just made, because I think you said you volunteered for some of these events, and that kind of helped you avoid having to pay to attend, maybe?
Yes.
How many jobs do you think that you applied to over the course of your law school? You can include internships in that. How many internships and jobs do you think you have applied to since graduating law school and also while you were in law school?
Probably, I would say between 30 and 50. So I don't know an exact number. I think generally what I came to learn in trying to land my first position as an attorney is that I was too narrowly focused in my job search. And I was really only targeting entry-level fellowships at the type of organizations like the Berkman Center and EFF and the ACLU that worked on this kind of narrow set of issues that I took an interest in. And as soon as I broadened my horizons and told my network that I would be willing to look at in-house positions or other types of positions, I immediately got a job. And I have come to find that although I'm not exclusively focused on internet law and privacy issues, I still get to work on those issues quite a bit, even in a non-technology company. I mean, now I work in the eyewear industry, in apparel and accessories, and we have an e-commerce platform, and we encounter privacy issues every day. I work on intellectual property issues. Every in-house lawyer needs to be thinking about privacy and data privacy. And so it's been a great kind of pivot to my career, and I have a super exciting practice, and I've learned a lot, and I'm in a fun industry, and I wish I had understood sooner that broadening your horizons can ultimately be a really great thing and help you land a great job.
Excellent. And so I think something you've already touched on is how law students can stand out through networking and writing and taking on those opportunities with their network and growing their network. So what advice do you have to current law students to stand out in the legal market, the job market? Are there any aspects that you've learned that you think being in-house now, you think that they should be looking out for to add to their resume or to build into their resume that they might not already have there?
I think that getting positions during the academic year is a great way to set yourself apart. I took my internship at the EFF during a school semester. I was able to get academic credit for that position. And I think anything you can do while you're a 2L or a 3L that's helping keep your resume current and giving you practical hands-on experience is really going to put you in a better position than someone who only takes summer positions. So I would encourage you to work in as many different positions as you can while you're a law student. And after law school, do not allow yourself to have a gap on your resume. So figure out a way that you can keep your resume current and make sure that you have a research assistant position or a position, even if it's with your local legal aid office, make sure that you're still getting practical experience after law school and don't just let your resume sit dormant, even if you're not able to land that perfect, entry-level position immediately after graduation.
That's so important and great advice too. One thing that I learned and I kind of found, because I took the same approach, I made sure to every semester be doing something that could be added to my resume, whether it was an internship or something. I found, and can you tell me if you found this as well? I found that it was easier to get things locally during the regular school semester rather than during the summer when so many more students were applying to things. Did you find that to be the case too?
Yes. So especially at high caliber organizations like EFF, their summer internship position attracts students from top 14 schools, and they have every right to select those outstanding candidates who are going to schools like Harvard and Yale. Who can blame an organization for taking on a top tier candidate for that? But if you're going to a school that's not in the top 14, and if you are at a local law school, apply for those positions during the fall and spring semester and be willing to make the sacrifice. You're going to be busy. It's going to be hard to juggle both academic and, professional commitments, but it is well worth it. And it shows that you're serious about practicing in that field. So if you can do it, and don't just limit yourself to, nonprofit groups. There are, companies that have even posted on your job board. Reach out to local firms, reach out to in-house legal departments in your area and see if you can get that type of experience. It pays off. It will really pay off after law school.
Excellent. So one last question before we move on from law school and kind of wrap this up. But were there any times that you struggled during law school or during the job search? And in explaining that, maybe you can shed some light to law students and share with them some ways to overcome something they might be experiencing.
I mean, absolutely. Law school is hard. It's challenging. It's hard. It's brutal. It's competitive, and it's not always fun. And I think that law school can be really difficult. And I think I wish I had reached out to more people for support in the ways that I could have used help. I think that there's no shame in going to your academic support office if you feel like you're kind of missing the boat on final exams. There's no shame in reaching out to an older student who's done well in classes about ways that you can improve. And I think I was kind of intimidated and a little embarrassed to reach out for help. And every lawyer and every 2L and 3L, if you're a 1L, has gone through what you're going through. And so I think I wish I had been set aside my pride and asked for help a little bit more. As far as the job search, I think rejection is tough, and everyone's going to face that in any job search. And I think the most valuable advice that I ever got was someone who told me, if you've made it to the final round of an interview, and they select the other candidate, you have every right to ask the person for advice or feedback on how you perform during the interview process and what you can do. And I felt like doing that for the couple of opportunities, that I missed the mark on. It was really valuable because they gave me great feedback, and they also encouraged me to apply for positions in the future. And I think it shows that, you're serious about, the opportunity. Obviously, if you've made it that far in the job search, you wanted to work for that organization, hopefully. And everyone took that really well. And I did get some great feedback that really helped me, put me in a better position to get other positions in the future.
Excellent. And I know that there is a great job database over at a organization website that you, I think, were active in early on in its existence, called the Internet Law and Policy Foundry. You were a fellow with them. So can you describe more about that process? And I'll have a link in the description below and on the podcast feed so people can check out their website. But tell me more about that organization.
Sure. Yeah. So the Internet Law and Policy Foundry is a new organization. I was a member of their inaugural class of fellows. My good friend, Ali Sternberg, was kind of instrumental in helping get this organization off the ground. And everything that we do is kind of from the ground up. Our members and our fellows, it's a really outstanding group of young early career professionals. And we've recently started inviting law students to become fellows and members as well. We are responsible for running the Internet Law and Policy Foundry job board. We put on events and panels, mostly in Washington, D.C. and San Francisco at this time, but we're really trying to expand our geographical reach. It's a great network, and it's a great sounding board. We have a really active Slack channel Slack network, and it's a place where I can go when I'm looking for advice or looking for a connection or looking for a recommendation. I drop a quick note on Slack, and I'll get an answer back from this outstanding group of individuals who are all kind of working on similar issues to me. So it's been a really fun thing to be a part of.
Great, yeah, and I've definitely followed along with it. And Ali had Ali's list for a little while that I found very helpful.
Yeah, so for people who don't know the history, Ali's list was a public Google Doc that Ali started, and it was the comprehensive place to go for internet law and policy jobs. It was impossible. It got to a point where it was almost impossible to add something to the list because somebody had already added it. And so she started this. Ali is just this awesome, young copyright law superstar. She works for the CCIA. I don't want to butcher the acronym, but she's a copyright rock star and a dear friend of mine. She's been a great connection to have. And actually, speaking of Ali, that is something I would also encourage people to take really seriously. It's great to have mentors who are, 5 and 10 years into their career, but you also need to have peer mentors and people you can talk to who are at your same professional level, and people who support you in that way. And I think that Ali and some of my other friends and some of the other connections that I've made through my internships have been just as valuable, if not more, than some of the older attorneys that I have connections with.
Great. Yeah, that's so true. I actually found my home in the ABA, the section of intellectual property law. There's a young lawyers group there that I found the exact same home where I have peers that I can run ideas by and just kind of talk hypothetically with. And so it's very helpful. And I definitely second that and encourage that. So tell me more. You're also involved in it. Go ahead.
Be nice to the people that you go to law school with, because you never know where you're going to run into these people, and do not burn bridges. Make connections with the people in your class. Be kind and be courteous to them, even though you're in a competitive environment. Now I'm in a new geographic area. Tons of my former classmates from Hastings are now practicing in Southern California. And I reach out to these people and I, maintain active connections with them. So don't be a jerk in law school. It might pay off in the short term, to get, better grades or be cutthroat, but in the long term, that's going to come back to bite you.
Definitely not worth it. Definitely not worth it. So tell me more about this. There's one other organization I want to talk about that you're involved with. It's a nonprofit called Without My Consent. So tell me first of all how you got involved with that, and then what you currently do with them.
So I know many of the board members are, attorneys who I made connections with up in the Bay Area. I work with Colette Vogel and Erica Johnstone, who are two amazing attorneys who spearhead this project. We are a group that works on resources for victims of non-consensual pornography and other serious invasions of online privacy. So I manage for them, in addition to my work at DITA. I am their project manager for their 50-state project. And I liaise between Without My Consent and our research attorneys, who are young associate attorneys at top-tier law firms who are doing really great pro bono research work for us that we then publish to our website. So our website is a great resource for attorneys who are looking to take on clients who have been victims of this type of, really horrific act and might not have experience in it. And so we try to tailor our website to be a resource for, both a victim and her attorney, should she find herself in a situation involving, revenge porn, as it's sometimes called, or another serious invasion of privacy.
That's amazing. I love how you're so involved in things that you're very passionate about, and it definitely shows. I think that's something that a lot of law students can take and hopefully learn from as well, and even recent graduates. If it's never too late to get involved in an organization, actually make an impact, and I think it's powerful what you're doing. That's great work. So.
And this is something that gives me the opportunity, to work on something I'm really passionate about, and it's just a couple of hours a month, and my employer is supportive of this, and it's a great type of thing to keep on my resume. It keeps me connected to people who I really care about working with, and it's been a really valuable and enriching experience.
So, Natalie, both of us are in-house attorneys right out of law school, which I know a lot of law students hear all the time is not possible. So can you describe, first of all, whether this is possible for other students to do, and then also whether they can do anything during law school that might prep them to be in-house right out of school?
That's a lie. So if anyone tells you it's not possible to go straight in-house out of law school, that is absolutely untrue. More and more companies are taking on people straight out of law school. So I went essentially straight in-house after law school, and I worked at Tilt with a very young general counsel who had also gone straight in-house right out of law school. And DITA was willing to hire me straight out of law school, and I worked directly with the general counsel who has 30 plus years of experience every single day, and he is training me to be a savvy in-house lawyer. He has taken a vested interest in my career. I receive hands-on training on how to be an in-house attorney every single day. And I don't know, because I've never worked for a law firm before. I know you receive very valuable training there as well, but I don't litigate as an in-house attorney. And so I don't really see, and I think companies are starting to wise up to the fact that 4 years of general litigation practice doesn't necessarily translate into how to give on-the-spot, day-to-day advice to a corporation, which is my job. And so I think more and more companies are doing this. I know a ton of people from Hastings who went straight in-house, and that is not the case anymore. So if someone is telling you that, they are not aware of the many in-house opportunities, and they have an old school mentality. That's just not the case anymore.
So law students should definitely seek out in-house internships so that they can maybe set up their future to be in-house right out of school.
Absolutely. So we at DITA, we are looking to hire our very, very first in-house internship or intern this summer. So I'm in the process of selecting, a young young law student who will be our first ever intern. And many companies, especially up in the Bay Area, almost all of the major tech companies, Apple, Google, Facebook, Twitter, Box, Dropbox, I know they all hire law students to go work in their in-house corporate, legal divisions. And so definitely seek out these types of opportunities. You might come to find out, like I did, that being in-house is a great career path.
Well, thank you, Natalie, so much for taking the time today. I want to give you one last opportunity to share if you have anything that you didn't get to cover or have any last thoughts you'd like to share.
I think, I just want to drive home the point that for me, what helped me in my career were my connections with people. And, it's easy to sniff out the difference between someone who's just trying to take advantage of you, and try to get, that introduction or just a, quick recommendation or, a quick phone call. It's easy to sniff that out now that I'm in the field and practicing. And so I think, my takeaway advice is to, make connections and nurture them and take them seriously, because these are the people that you're going to rely on for the rest of your career. And, it's super important as an attorney to have a strong professional network.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again. And can you share again, what's the best way for people to reach out to you if they have any additional questions?
Sure. Yeah, I'm on Twitter. My handle is @NatNicol. It's NATNICOL. You can direct message me there. I'm really easy to find online, so you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. And I'm always happy to chat with people who are interested in learning more about my career or looking to make connections with people in this field. So.
Perfect. Well, thank you again. And thank you, everybody, for listening and watching. Well, that wraps up another episode of Law School Strategy. Remember to subscribe via your favorite podcast app or on YouTube for the video versions of the episodes. Plus, there's additional exclusive content that I only publish on YouTube. Also, share this episode or show with a friend. They'll owe you at least a cup of coffee for all the information they'll be learning. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Law School Strategy Podcast. Check out lawschoolstrategy.com and make sure you subscribe to never miss an episode of the Law School Strategy Podcast. We're on all podcast apps and on YouTube, so leave a review. Connect with us on Facebook and Twitter. Remember, nothing in this podcast should be considered legal advice. Please consult with an attorney on any legal issues you may be facing.